All right, everyone, welcome back, or welcome to, if you're visiting for the first time, to Passin Dimes. My name's Josh Nickel. Joining me, Dels Keith. Good, you?
Good, you?
I don't want a long intro because I feel like we have one of the best players in Canada volleyball history, and I kind of want to get to him really, really quickly. So let's get to it. Our guest today is an Olympian,
A FIVB gold medalist,
CIS national champion.
indoor and beach national team member,
I think he's played over 130 beach tournaments representing Canada, which is huge.
incredibly funny individual, often overlooked.
Started his own organization and league in the Vancouver area, which is actually it's a Canada thing. Like it's getting athletes all over Canada. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Serial entrepreneur.
Just all around great guy. So let's get to it. This week's guest is Ben Saxton.
Thank you for the warm introduction. I don't know if all of it is merited, but
Well, it is on this show.
yeah.
You know, we're the media, and what we say is true.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we're going with it.
Good story in the news. But thanks for coming on, and we're actually super stoked to have you on here and to talk everything. You know, you've been around the block for a long time, and this is your 15th year representing Canada internationally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, counting my two years playing the under-19 World Championships, it's 15 years that I've traveled somewhere to play beach volleyball.
That's incredible. So, for people that don't know, your dad was an Olympian, and your sister was on the national team as well. So it's a pretty big volleyball family. Growing up, did you sort of know that this pathway was carved into you, or did you come to it naturally, just sort of into volleyball and obviously groomed towards the national team?
Well, I mean, most people who know my family will say that it was pretty obvious from the get-go, because my mom and my dad both were national team volleyball players. My mom just missed out on the Olympics. She left the team just before they went to the '84 Olympics, the same one as my dad went to. And then, yeah, they own and operate two indoor volleyball facilities in Calgary, and have for the last 25 years now. So it's kind of bred into my whole family to play the sport.
And speaking of which, your dad's '84 team is being inducted this weekend into the Volleyball Canada Hall of Fame. So that's another big award that's going to the Saxton family.
Well, he got inducted a couple years ago as an individual athlete, and so now his team is getting inducted, and it's pretty special for them. They're obviously one of the best. I mean, I've heard every story about them because just growing up with my dad and his friends were all the guys from that team, just around all the time. So, yeah, they were obviously a pretty special team.
Yeah, tight knit group. And your dad's going to be out in Ottawa to accept the award, and
I'm not sure. Depends when it is.
I think it's this weekend.
Oh,
is it a part of League of Nations?
I think they're trying to integrate it into the World League event.
Then I haven't talked to them in a week, but I would say it's unlikely if it's this weekend. Yeah. He's already going to Ottawa in August for my wedding.
Nice.
And speaking of which, congratulations. I don't think we've talked since you've been engaged, so quick turnaround. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks. So when you were growing up, did you have plans of being in the national team, or was it just something that you thought everybody did because both your parents did it? Did you know the steps that it was going to take to be a national team athlete, or was it just you were around volleyball so much that it was I'll play for Canada someday?
I mean, I grew up with it as a realistic possibility. It was never shot down by my parents. My parents have always supported sort of everything that we all do, my siblings and I. And they're obviously key to all of our success and everything. Yeah, I've never thought that they couldn't do it, because with their support and everything that instilled in us. It's kind of seemed like a natural thing that anyone can accomplish, and so I always just thought that if I worked at it, then I could do it.
And did you ever consider indoor, or was beach always going to be your path?
I mean, when I was young, I wanted to play basketball, and then I just started getting. There was a point when for basketball I was pretty good, but everyone else around me was also pretty good. And then for volleyball, I was a lot better than everyone else around me because I'd just been playing a lot longer. And so it was like, well, I can make a go at volleyball. It's I like being better than people at things, so it's good. So that made it a lot easier to play volleyball. As far as beach and indoor, I liked indoor, but I like the freedom that comes with beach. That you're your own coach a lot of the time. You get to make your own decisions in terms of how you train and play, and I just like and also you're involved in every single play. There's no hiding. You have to be good at every skill. I just think it's a really all around volleyball and that's why I've always preferred it.
So, speaking of being better at people than things, your team just won the NORCECA berth for the World Championships, and the draws for that just came out today. So, take us through that weekend, having to commute from Vancouver to Toronto, and what the pathway to success was there, and your feelings sort of after the tournament, after you guys had won and secured the spot.
Well, it was actually nice. We came to Toronto and were hosted by Dave Chambers, who is one of Grant's old teacher/coaches, and he really just made us feel at home, which is really, whenever you travel anywhere, that's what you want, is to feel as at home as possible, because whenever you're at home, that's where you're most comfortable, and then you'll usually play your best volleyball. So it was really awesome to have Dave, or Mr. Chambers as we call him, because that's how Grant always knew him. It was really awesome to have him there, or be a resource for us to just feel at home and be able to play at our most comfortable, and so that was, I think, a real key to us playing so well that weekend, where we were really just steady the whole weekend long and played really well against every team, and obviously won the tournament.
Now, did you have any sort of debrief afterwards, and we're like, wow, like we came literally across the country and beat everybody and just flew back home? Or was it sort of you just looked at each other and said, yeah, we expected to do this and we did it, so keep moving forward?
It was more the second one of those. We came in with intentions to do as well as we can, and if we played well, we'd have the best chance to win that tournament. And then we did, and then it was just round after round of shots, and no.
And then you don't remember the rest.
Yeah, don't remember the rest. No, but then we went home and
back to business.
Ready for the next tournament.
Yeah, back to business.
So how do you guys perform that way? Like, is it different coming to, say, a domestic event where maybe the outside expectations are for you to do well versus maybe you're going to, like, World Championships and things are wide open? Like, how do you mentally and emotionally prepare for a tournament? Does it change depending on, like, the scale of the event?
You try not to let it change. It is a little bit different because the caliber of teams is a little bit different. The teams at the trials, they're good, but no offense to them, there's a little bit of a drop off from the World Tour. So we go in and you almost take the first couple matches as you don't have to be on fully all the time. It's Worlds is going to be awesome. We have a strong pool. We'll get into that later, I'm sure. But we're going to have to go in and be ready to play right off the bat, ready to go. There's no warm up.
There's no gimme games, that's for sure. So we actually do have the pools here.
So yeah, you mentioned it. It's going to be a tough pool. So Dalhousie Lucena, who you guys are familiar with, Brouwer Musen from the Netherlands, and Azad and Cap Ugrasso. Is that the Argentinian team? So yeah, a tough pool. And in Worlds, I believe the format is you play everybody, right? It's not the shorter format that you see on the FIV right now.
Yeah, I think so. You'll have to ask Ed for. But yeah, see, it's regular pool play. Play everybody.
Nice. So for a guy like you who's finished, I think, 5th, which is probably one of Canada's best results, at least on the men's side, at a World Championships, how are you preparing for an event like this now that the pools are out? You guys know you're going. I think you have Warsaw to prep and a few other things, but what are you looking forward to with Worlds, and how are you guys going to get it going, like you said, right from the start of your first match?
We'll play Brouwer Musen first. So yeah, we're gonna go into Warsaw and sort of see what they're doing, as well as just try to play as well as we can in Warsaw. I mean, essentially, we're gonna treat it like another tournament for the most part. It's a little different because there will be bigger breaks between matches, so we'll be fully rested and our bodies should be good to go for every match, but overall, you want to treat it like any tournament and be in the right mind frame zone, one of the two. You want to be in the right frame of mind for every game, regardless of whether it's a 4-star tournament or World Champs or a 1-star or NORCECA trials or anything. Every time you play a match, you want to be in the right headspace and as fully prepared as you can be.
So you being one of the more clutch guys we've seen, like we talked about your accomplishments, what does that actually look like for you? Like for our younger listeners, what is your mindset and how do you kind of balance that when stress hits or expectations hit, or maybe if you get a certain result, you get your carding, right? So there's a lot of external stuff. What do you guys do to kind of take care of your focus and your, I don't know, your mental state or whatever we just called it? Like how do you prepare that and kind of, is it a skill you can practice or is it just something you're good at?
How do you steady the ship in big moments?
Yeah, basically? That's a good way to explain it.
I mean, you said I'm clutch, but I think the key to being clutch is to play a lot because then you have more time to accumulate good results. Because I've definitely been non-clutch my fair share as well. So it's more like that's pretty much the key is play as much as you can because then you'll see every situation and as soon as something new pops up, you're ready for it because you've seen it before. As soon as something different comes up, you have more chance to have seen it before if you've played a lot. I don't know if I'm saying this the right way, but it's you
got to put yourself in every situation so that you know how to handle every situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm giving you guys a lot of work trying to make me sound good. Seeing how good of hosts you are right now.
So just in speaking of, you've been at this for such a long time. I was fortunate enough to be, I guess, with you and watch you in your first tournament with your new partnership with Grant O'Gorman in Australia, and that's where we sort of gelled, and I realized I wasn't the only one with a particular sense of humor. But it was pretty incredible seeing you guys there and winning an event, and I think that's the first time in a number of years since I think it was since Doha that a Canadian team finished on top of the podium. How is your approach with Grant in this sort of cycle different from the previous Olympic qualifications that you've gone through, both having been successful in qualifying and not successful in qualifying? Is anything different with Grant that you've experienced in your 2.5 years together than your other partners, or is it sort of just like, you've been through this, like you said, you've had these experiences and you know what to expect?
Yeah, well, I mean, we both have been through a lot. He's younger, but he's been playing a lot. But basically, the difference is that Grant is younger. It's the first partnership that I've had where I'm the older partner. with Cam, I was more experienced, but still he was older than me. So it's been sort of the first partnership where I feel like I'm supposed to be the mentor, even though Grant is a lot. He's a very disciplined individual that will do all of the. He'll go through every step of whatever process he's in the middle of trying to complete. Whereas I'm a lot more fly by the seat of my pants.
Maybe that's why you compliment you guys so well.
Yeah. So I don't know if me being the mentor is necessarily the best, because as you guys have already found out, I'm not the best with relaying information. It's been great with Grant because he works so hard, and he's going to do whatever it takes to get better. And so qualifying for anything, I have full confidence that he's going to put forth his best effort, and that's pretty much as much as you can do in any situation. There's always going to be tough times, and it's just being able to learn from the bad and use it going forward, rather than to dwell on it.
Right. I think that's a really good attitude to have.
Looking at your FIVB profile, it kind of stood out that, like every beach player, you've had a few different partners, but one thing that stands out with you is when you find a partner, it seems like you play with them for almost a full cycle. Is that something that kind of goes with your mental attitude, that you want to go through tough moments with the same partner and kind of compete for, looks like it's 2 or 3 seasons with everybody, right? Because you played with Redmond for a good stretch there, then you and Kame were together, and now you and Grant have been together for a cycle. Is that something you look for in a partner, is somebody who can really battle and commit to like a full cycle?
I mean, I'm glad that it doesn't seem like I switch partners all the time, but mostly I take it year by year. I've never really liked thinking about it as cycles, because you play tournaments every season, and so I want to be as good as I can for the next season, and for the next season, and for the next season. If I'm good enough in a certain season, I'll qualify for the Olympics as an afterthought almost. So I don't like to look at the Olympics specifically as a tournament. I'm trying to be as good as I can for every single tournament that I play and every season that I play. So partners, as long as I see that there's forward momentum with a partnership, like if I see that Grant is still learning, that I'm still learning with Grant, and we're constantly getting better, then I'm going to continue playing with Grant. Like with Cam and with Christian, it was the same thing. Like, as long as I see that I feel that we're going to get better as a team, then I want to continue playing with that person.
Nice. And you've been to multi-sport events, like you've been to the big volleyball ones like Worlds and everything, but you've also been to Pan Am. Was there anything about the Olympics that was kind of surprising, or like a moment where you felt like you arrived?
Not really. I mean, the Olympics there's a lot of busyness around it, and there's a lot of people that are warning us that it's going to be so hectic, and you need to shut out all the noise and everything like that. But I guess the funniest part from the Olympics was after every single match, coming to my phone and having, it's like 1,000 notifications on my phone, and it's like, oh my goodness, what is because all the people who've been watching at home that don't normally see any volleyball because it's not very well broadcast in the rest of the world tour, but on the Olympics, every single person that I've met in my life is sending me a message and being like, oh, you did so good. And so I have just these 1,000 notifications on my phone, and it's like, do I go through all of these and try to answer all of them, or is it just sort of throw my phone out and get a new one?
Knowing you had a witty joke for every single person that responded to you.
Yeah, I try my best to get back to people, but yeah, we got the new Olympic phone, so by the end of it, my old phone was kind of
pooched.
I just left it.
I think that's a good approach to have. You talked about taking things season by season and reducing it down, and it seems, for a lot of people that get caught up in these big moments, for you, it's almost like, it's one thing leads to another, and you've been down the journey for such a long time. It's amazing to be able to pick your brain and to comprehend sort of, this isn't a fluke. Why you're in the position that you're in, and I really want to say I admire that, and I admire just the way you've carried yourself as a professional sort of throughout the course of your career, both as a fan and as a teammate and as a colleague, and now as someone who gets to interview you. But it's great to see that that you have this approach, and I'm looking forward to watching you guys do really well, especially at Worlds.
Well, I appreciate that. But everything that I've learned, I learned from all my past coaches, and obviously my parents being the biggest influence on my outlook in my life.
But let's step away from volleyball for a second and talk about the sort of I guess it's still in the volleyball realm, but you've started some businesses within the volleyball community and out of Vancouver. So we have WeCo. So why don't you explain to our listeners what's going on with that, and then the league that you've actually started as well.
So I'll start with WeCo Vivo, which stands for West Coast Beach Volleyball Society, and it's mostly actually we just got our not-for-profit status, so we're a giving society. We're a charity, kind of.
Congrats! Congratulations! Yeah, that's a big move. I'm in the not-for-profit game right now, so I understand how big that is to have that status. So congrats!
Yeah. So mostly what WeCo Vivo is sort of known for now, after the first 3 years, is we run a Play with the Pros tournament in November-ish time every year, and we get most of the kids pros with a few. We've had a couple Olympians every time. The first year was me and Kame, and then April Ross came out, and then Sarah Pavin came out last year in Binstock to come play. And so our format is teams of just rec players can come play the tournament, and they get one pro on their team for every match. So all the pros will just sort of cycle around for the whole tournament. We've had 24 teams for every season. We've made around, I think it's like 30,000 for which we put back into volleyball, and trying to set up a hub for training for high level beach out in Vancouver, because there's a really good rec community and a really good semi-pro community out here, but there's not really much for guys who are interested in competing internationally beyond the rec level.
Right.
And so that's sort of what our main purpose is, and we've sent a couple of the young teams to the Youth Worlds Trials and Junior Worlds Trials through this money that we've raised, and yeah, so we're trying to build
a community and give back. That's awesome.
To a more competitive than it is, because it's already an amazing community out in BC. Everyone is so supportive of all of these endeavors and everything volleyball.
Right.
Nice. So how can people get involved? You mentioned you achieved your not-for-profit status. What's your website, and how can people kind of learn more about it and start to contribute?
WeCoBevo.com.
Can you spell WeCo Bevo, just for, we're audio only, so I don't know. We'll put it in the show notes, but just for the listeners.
So that's WeCoBevo.com.
Beauty. Thank you.
And other than the Play with the Pro event in Vancouver, if there's anybody outside of the province, what's the best way to help with that?
Honestly, just send an email, and it's mostly run by Jody McIntosh. She's been instrumental to everything that's been Wico Bevo. She's the heart and soul, basically, and I'm the face. But yeah, so just send an email out if you're interested in helping out with, because Wico Bevo, it's for everyone in the Western provinces.
Do you include Manitoba or no?
Supporting everyone west of Manitoba because
that's central in Canada.
Yeah, it's true, but it's because there's so much going on in Toronto and Quebec, and they have all of this support and opportunities to play at full-time centers and everything, and there's not quite that much assistance for the rest of Canada, so we're just trying to help everyone sort of keep up.
So this is obviously with the name, it's purely for beach volleyball athletes, because we know that the Richmond Oval is being used as sort of a high-performance outlet for Pacific-based teams and for the women's indoor team. We had a women's national team player on here, Autumn Bailey. Is there any way that we can involve the women's team to help obviously build just the community of volleyball and disperse it nationally?
Yeah, I mean, the women's players have come to play with the pros, and they've been awesome and supportive of us, and we direct people to them as well. Most the funding that we get is meant for beach volleyball specifically, but yeah, we're obviously very supportive of everything volleyball. Though we do also recognize the distinction between the two.
Right, team and individual.
Nice, and you also started a league. So can you go into that? Like, where did that idea come from? I really enjoy the format. If you could go over that, just so our listeners can understand the men's and women's being on the same team and all that. So yeah, take it away with the league concept.
Yeah, so the league is just sort of, it's been in my mind for years and years and years. I mean, since I was a kid, when you're a kid and you're an athlete, you look at pro sport and you think NBA, NHL, NFL, all of these pro leagues. And it just makes sense to be a fan of a league. I feel like leagues are a lot more fan friendly than the tour system, which seems to be so intertwined with beach volleyball. It seems that everything beach volleyball is always done in the tour. Anything professional is tour and tournaments. And there's never any leagues, and I think it's mostly because teams are so small. With two people, it's hard to get so invested in just two guys rather than a whole team of people. But the way I looked at it is that if I want to do a league, I took what's the word? Took some inspiration from the NCAA, the way the girls do it in the NCAA, because their teams consist of a lot of different teams, and so it's a lot
like nominating a big team to have like the one play one, two play two, that sort of format.
Yeah, it fosters the whole teamwork aspect of things, and it's really, I find it really fun. Though I agree with you guys. I've been listening that it's not that great to end it when there's an advantage one and just end it in the middle of the match. So I created the overtime system so that there's a way for everyone to sort of contribute to. If there's a tie, then it's not doesn't just end there. There's a way for everyone to contribute to the final, to tiebreak.
So why don't you explain a little more what you created with your overtime system for those of our listeners that aren't familiar?
Yeah, so for me, each team consists of a men's team and a women's team, which is something that I also thought was important. because the men's game and the women's game are different, and yet everyone. I mean, sorry, I'm explaining this poorly. But so the men's and women's game are different, but it's still both beach volleyball, and I thought it would be cool to have a pro league where men and women compete on the same team, but they're still competing only against each other. So the women play the women, the men play the men. So each matchup is on 2 different courts. And then there's 1 match each. So Team A men play Team B men, Team A women play Team B women. 1 match. If it's tied, so the Team A wins the men and Team B wins the women, then it'll go to overtime, which is just 1 set to 15 points, but it alternates from court to court. So the women would play the first point and say Team A wins, it's 1-0.
Wow.
The men play the second point, and it could be Team B wins, so it's 1-1.
Love it.
And then
That's
that
awesome.
goes on until a team gets to 15, win by 2.
That's an awesome system. I love that. That's really interesting. I really like that concept.
Yeah, it was really fun, and the people who played really enjoyed it, and the people who followed along and really enjoyed it as well. So I'm going to try to run another league this winter and see if I can get a little more going, and if I can get it in other provinces as well, and have a big league,
a national league
at the end. And
no, that's a good point you brought up, because there's a sort of this emergence of indoor volleyball at the semi-professional level in Canada with the 1 league which started in Toronto, and then it branched off into Calgary, and Vancouver has the Super League now. You know, how can people come and watch? How can people come and support you as it is now in Vancouver? Like, when does the season typically run from, and how many nights a week is it going on?
So in the first season, I was just sort of testing things out. I basically did everything myself for the whole organizational and everything. So it was a lot of work, and it was around sort of when I played, so I mashed it up all into 1 month. And so there was two games a week. It was Saturdays and Sunday for the month of January, and it was indoor at Six Pack Beach, which is the indoor facility in Vancouver. I wanted to do something in the summer, but it's obviously very hard while I'm playing and traveling and everything. But also BC this summer is packed with tournaments. With the tour, the BC Beach Tour is looking awesome this year, and I didn't want to add anything to muddy the waters during the summer.
You're too nice, Ben. You're too nice.
I'd rather them just do their tour and do it as well as possible, and have a really awesome beach tour without anything confusing anyone during the summer, and then I can have my own time during the winter for now until it grows big enough that I need to do it in the summer. But
well, you mentioned that you wanted it to be sort of adopted in other provinces, and I think that would be something that would be great within the Toronto community for sure. And you spoke about Quebec having a pretty rich volleyball culture. If there's any way that we can get involved with that, we'd love to help out. But for now, what's the best way that people can get involved with the MBVL, and how can we help you continue to do great things in it?
Because I think the format, Ben, is you have owners for each team, right? So there's a way for community people to get involved in almost sponsor a team, and then the players they have to go through a draft, didn't they?
Yeah, so each team was drafted by owners. So if you own a team, then you get to pick your own players for the team, similar to the 1 league for indoor volleyball. So you draft your own team. The men and women get drafted together, which I thought was a fun idea, and it was enjoyed by everyone. Even though the women all got drafted first, and the men are way less valuable than the women to each team. So, yeah, so it was really fun. The best way to support is to help me find owners and sponsors for because it's for the league, because it's most of the income comes from owners and sponsors for now. I'm looking into merchandise at some point, but for now it's in order to keep the league running, because I'm paying for the courts and refs and all that stuff to go with it. So I need help financially, but I don't want to.
First things first, we need to get you a sponsor and get some ownership to establish that league, and then second, the residual sponsors come in for us.
Yeah, and then also anyone who's willing to spend some time and help me set up help me set up and score keep and all the little things that go into running a league. It's any way that anyone wants to help, I'm happy to put you to work.
And quickly, what's the website for it, and how can people reach you to get involved?
The website is nbvl.ca, and you can reach me at league@nbvl.ca.
Awesome.
Thank you. I do want to get to a couple more volleyball questions. We had Eric Matson on the show, and he mentioned, I think he was in first year when you were in third year, that was maybe the best indoor team he had ever played on. What do you remember about that year and kind of winning a CIS championship on home soil?
It was awesome. I was a little bitter that year because, as bitter as after going undefeated and winning nationals that I can be, because we actually had undefeated season, won nationals, and then I think we only had one all-star. So not that he ended up being the CIS Athlete of the Year, and Joel Schmulin deserved everything of that. He was awesome that whole season, and his beard deserved that by itself. Yeah, we had probably our entire starting lineup could have been an all-star that year, but they gave it to just one guy and then had to spread it around the rest of the.
You'd think if nobody can beat the six guys who are on the court, then surely those six guys should be the all-star team.
Exactly. Like, we didn't lose a set in all of playoffs, and I think we lost like 6 sets all season.
Wow.
Like, what do you remember about that team? Like, what was the practice environment like, or what was like the level of talent? Because there was a lot of depth, right? Like, I think Eric told us like guys like Jason Duraco, who's on the indoor national team, were on the bench that year, I think.
Yeah. We he was behind me. he was also his first year on the team. He was his second year, I think. But yeah, we had a really strong team, obviously, and I always say a team starts from the middles. So as like our middles, and U of A's middles are constantly some of the best middles in the country, which is why they've been so strong for so long. Trinity West has also had really strong middles, and that's generally where you build out a team. So I give full credit to Justin Murda and Spencer Lischke that year, who were the most dominant middles in the CIS. Yeah.
Nice. Moving back to some beach stuff, you guys have put together some really good results. So after kind of having to go through the qualifier at the start of the year, you got back-to-back ninths. Was there anything that switched with you and Grant, or just kind of stay the course and you knew the results were going to start coming?
The qualifier and the main draw are two totally different tournaments, and it's a completely different beast to play one match in the qualifier compared to a main draw, where you get a couple attempts. to get one win, and then you go from there. The problem, like Grant and I tend to be pretty good when we have a little bit of build up into our game. So the qualifiers, we weren't ready for them, I guess you could say. And the next time we play one, we'll do our best to be warm enough to be ready to go. But yeah, we just didn't have that. The ball hadn't started rolling yet, basically.
Well, it seems with all these good results that you guys are having, and especially, mentally, obviously you guys are prepped and ready to go, and you have this main draw in Warsaw. I mean, hopefully, knock on wood, you don't have to deal with that problem anymore.
Well, exactly. Like, as soon as... So, Kame and I, when we started making main draws and stayed in the main draw, it makes the whole tournament so much easier because you don't have to worry about this whole first part that a quarter of the tournament has to deal with. And it's one or two full matches for the day before the tournament. So if you're going into the qualifier and you win and you get in, then your tournament is successful almost. You feel like you've accomplished something just by getting into the tournament because it's so difficult, because it's so deep. The depth of the tour is pretty much all the way down. 3/4 of the way down to qualifier they're all super strong teams.
Yeah.
And then once you get into a main draw, the sense of accomplishment is kind of already there, and it takes a lot of pressure off in a main draw, but also there's a little bit less incentive to do well in the main draw. So when you start in the main draw, it feels like you should do better because you have that edge over the teams that are tired coming in.
Yeah,
and they're already feeling good about their tournament.
You're almost complacent that you made it in and did your job, so it's over. Where if you come in without the qualification, you lose 2 games, you're sort of bummed. But if you win the qualifier and you lose in the pool, you're 2-2, so you're even.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's much harder to qualify and then do well in the tournament. Some teams have done it, and that makes those wins especially amazing, because it's so hard just to qualify, and then go all the way through the tournament is so impressive. Yeah, but if we don't have to qualify, then we don't have to qualify. But if we do have to qualify, then we'll do our best.
We'll figure it out. One more thing that I want to touch on, because we talked about your experience at U of A, and we talked about sort of the longevity of your family in Alberta and just sort of the volleyball scene there. There's a 3-star event in Edmonton this year, so this is a bit of a homecoming for you. What are your thoughts going into this event? And I'm sure, especially for you, going to school there and having your family there, it's going to be quite the sight to have. We'll say almost home court advantage, but
local hero.
Yeah, hometown hero Ben Saxton.
I'm very excited for this tournament in Edmonton because it's like we talked about at the start. I've been traveling and playing on the tour for 15 years, and the closest I've played to home is it's either Quebec or LA, but they're about the same distance. But it's going to be so exciting to be at a tournament where my whole family can drive to come and watch me play, and everyone there will be people there that are there just to see me, rather than that are around and cheer for Canada because they happen to be Canadians in that country. It's going to be a different experience for me, and I'm very excited to play in Edmonton.
And no qualifier.
and they'll qualify. Yeah, we might even be the 1 seed.
Yeah, who knows?
Nice. We have talked about this on previous episodes. I was hoping you could share the adventure you guys went on to get from Brazil to China, and how you landed on that 40-hour mark of what that exactly looks like.
Yeah, well, it was. I didn't necessarily have to go the route that I went, and it might have been a little bit shorter, but I think the shortest anyone went was 30-something hours. For me, I went Florianopolis, which is close to Itapema, to Sao Paulo, to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and then from there to Bangkok, Hong Kong, Xiamen, and then a cab from Xiamen to Jinjiang.
And how long was the cab?
The cab, it was an hour.
Okay, so that wasn't so bad. So you went to Brazil. You went from South America to Africa to Asia.
Yes.
So
Yeah, it was a long day.
And when you landed, your watch exploded.
My watch exploded?
Yeah, from all the time zones.
Yeah. Yeah, it was possibly the longest travel day of my whole career, which was
it's saying a lot. Yeah.
So, a lot of movies.
A lot of movies. That was my plan when I played too. I make a list of all the movies I really wanted to see, and I download them, and I love that. But I know you probably get this question a lot, so take it with a grain of salt. But you've been so many different places. What for you has been the most enjoyable trip, and why was that? Enjoyable in the sense of what place were you like, wow, like, I can't believe I'm here?
I mean, a lot of the places, it depends on the result. You go to a place, and if you do well in the tournament, then you like the place, and if you did badly in the tournament, then that place sucks, so you want to just go home. But
that's why I hate Brazil.
Yeah, probably my favorite place, though, regardless of the tournament, is Stad. It's just so scenic and peaceful, and I don't know, it's green. You're in the mountains. It's just an amazing place to be, much less to play in. Just so clean. It feels so clean and fresh, and just the nicest place that I have been.
And not to suck you a country here, but you mentioned a lot of it has to do with results, so we'll take it with a grain of salt as well. Least favorite place you've been to?
I don't know if I might start an international incident if I.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, but I've never been
Toronto.
Never been that partial to Toronto.
Toronto, yeah.
Never been a big fan of China personally.
Just because of obviously the cultural difference and the length of flight and the food. We've heard all the horror stories.
A lot of it has to do with food.
Yeah.
Just it's so different. Some of it is really tasty, but it's just so different. And like I mentioned before, when I go somewhere, I just want it to feel like home. And China is about as far from home as feeling. As far from home feeling as you can get.
Yeah, fair enough. So you guys, what's next for you? You guys have Warsaw and then World Champs, and then are you taking a bit of a break before Edmonton, or? No,
World Champs and then Stade and then Edmonton. And then Tokyo, Vienna, marriage.
So you, and then obviously, if all goes to plan, Hamburg.
Hamburg is World.
I meant for Rome. World Tour Finals, Rome.
Yeah.
Rome, yeah.
Yeah, if all goes well, then Rome.
If all goes well, Rome.
Your wife must be pretty convincing to have a wedding in the middle of beach season for you, eh? What's the date in August you guys are getting married?
It's August 17th. It's actually during the Moscow 4-star. We actually picked that day because we weren't sure at the time when we were picking dates when World Tour Finals would be. But we were sure that it wouldn't be at the same time as a 4-star, so we picked picked a date during a 4-star, so would definitely not conflict with World Tour finals.
Clever. I like
Smart.
that.
Really pushing for the December wedding. Didn't really pan out though, eh?
Yeah. But then this way I also don't have to go through the whole Russian visa process, which is a hassle every year.
Right. So is the Brazilian visa, but
But the Brazilian visa usually lasts for 5 years or so. But actually, I think they're getting rid of the visa, needing a visa for Brazil from next year on.
Okay, so that's helpful. So you guys are in Vancouver now, or you're in Vancouver now. You get a bit of a break before things sort of ramp up. What's the best way that people can support you and Grant and help you guys along the journey here?
Give us money.
Who do I write the check to?
Send us a nice message. Any good feelings are good for us. They help us moving forward. We like to hear from everybody. So if you have a nice message to send us, then we'd like to hear it.
That's
and
good.
If you want to send some money too, then we'll take that too.
Yeah, money first. Nice message with the money. Sort of one thing that we like to do on this to wrap things up. We talk about sort of. You mentioned international incidents. We like to ask our guests one sort of moment in their career overseas that was a bit of an eye opener. Eric mentioned his club one year forgot to renew his visa, and he had to be shipped home for 3 months in the middle of the season. We had Becky Pavin on here before, and she talked about going to an airport in Germany, not knowing who was picking her up, and just sort of blindly walking into a car with a complete stranger. So just my question for you to sort of put a bow on this interview is, what's sort of the craziest or most inconvenient thing that's happened to you in your 15 years on tour?
When you ask that, a story pops in my head. I don't know if it's appropriate.
That's okay. Hey.
For the show, but I was at Francophone Games 2009, I think, in Beirut. And so I was playing that with Jesse Elliott, and we actually won the Francophone Games. But then afterwards, so we were all celebrating with us, and so for Francophone Games, Canada actually gets 3 different teams. So there's actually the Canada team, Canada Quebec, and Canada New Brunswick.
Okay.
So there's 3 separate delegations.
So who are the 3 teams with you and Jesse? Do you remember?
It was so me and Jesse. There was from New Brunswick. It was, I don't remember their names. Corey and something. And then that was from New Brunswick. From Quebec, it was Simon Fecteau-Boutin and Fiji.
Francois Allaire.
Yeah. And
so you guys won. You guys won the Francophone Games, and you guys are partying afterwards.
Yeah. And so the Canadian team for the women was Heather Bansley and Julie
Rodrigue.
Yeah, Julie Rodrigue. And so after the tournament, we're celebrating. We're at just a bar in Beirut, and we're heading back. And the girls, Julie and I ended up alone for some reason, and she was like, "Can you just walk me back to my room?" Because we're all in dormitories, and she's like, "Can you walk me back to my room?" So I walk, because it's Beirut. You're kind of a little
on edge,
skeptical of things, and it's a good thing that I did, because we got to the room and opened the door, and there was a guy in their room. I don't know if I should say what. He wasn't doing very good things in there. So his pants are at his ankles, and just over top of all their stuff in their room, and it was just like and I was just like, excuse me, get out, like leave. And so he's like, oh, sorry, and he comes to shake my hand, and I was like, I don't want to shake your hand. He didn't speak English, so I didn't. Like, it was just the weirdest moment probably in my entire life was this happening, and and then so Julie and Heather obviously changed rooms, and we had to talk to security for the next few days, for the last few days of Francophone games,
and they had to burn their bags
before we went home. And it was it just kind of tainted the win a little bit. It was a weird happening, and it makes you think, like, what goes on. And plus, in Beirut, you're driving through all these buildings with bullet holes through them. The whole, like, you have a full armed contingent around each team, transporting you from location to location, and that was probably the scariest tournament that I've been to. Just a weird,
wow,
just feeling kind of not safe at any given time, and
really,
then that happening in the midst of it all was just sort of.
That might be one of the best stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was a crazy thing.
I'm really happy you shared that with us. That's intense and incredible in all the wrong ways.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the best thing to share, but
on that note,
you might have to talk to Julie before you air that.
Yeah,
I don't know if she'll want to.
We might
or just bleep out her name as a
athlete A. Oh man! Well, thanks again for taking the time with us here, and this was probably one of the most fun episodes I've had listening to you share everything.
Yeah, well, sorry I'm not always the most eloquent, but you guys make me look good.
You make you look good.
I'm a big fan, but I have noticed that there's a lot of friends of the show. Is there Do they say they're friends of the show, or is that
No, that's an appointed title.
That's our criteria, and it's pretty loose. If we know your name, basically, you're a friend of the show.
Yeah.
Do you have any enemies of the show? Because I wouldn't mind being just to be different.
You want to play the villain?
No, we do have an extensive list of enemies of the show, but they remain unnamed.
Oh, okay.
Ben Saxton wants to be the villain.
No, I won't allow it. You're a superhero always.
Okay, I can deal with that.
Yeah,
but I'd just like to be distinguished from the other crowd.
Oh, somehow. You're in the top order here. Everyone's batting 1A after this.
Instead of friend of the show, though.
How about
a different title?
How about super friend of the show, Ben Saxton?
I'll take that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Whenever we mention you, it's going to be super friend of the show, Ben Saxton.
Perfect. Yeah. I have been listening, and I've been kind of mentioned in most episodes, so I'm.
So you know what? The episode after this airs, we'll be sure to keep that going. It's going to be a good running gag. But
try to connect me to every guest.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
you're good, but you're no super friend of the show, Ben Saxton.
And once our downloads explode from this episode, maybe we can get a sponsor, and then we can own a team in your league.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And the cycle keeps going.
Yeah, hey, pay it forward. But
if Wookie wants to be a league manager, you could run an NBVL in Toronto.
You know what? We're gonna look into that. I'm not even joking. I think that's
a great idea.
It's a great concept, and like you said, anybody who has an indoor beach facility should be looking into this, because I think it's a great way to kind of raise the rec league to be like that semi-pro level that you talked about, and I think it's a great initiative too, and it gets fans involved, it gives them something to cheer for. It's a great concept.
Yeah, and that's sort of I didn't explain it very well, but that's sort of what I wanted to share with everyone. So excellent job.
Yes.
Letting people know.
Perfect. All right, we'll let you go here, but we'll have the full episode up on Friday, and we'll try and cut it together to post a couple snippets on Instagram for you as well.
Make me sound better.
Exactly. Perfect. All right, Ben.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah. Take care.
How lucky are we? That was a great interview by Olympian Ben Saxton. That is actually, fun fact, our second Olympian we've had in our young history of 11 episodes here on Passin Dimes. If you want to catch the first Olympian, if you haven't already, that was TJ Sanders. Maybe being an Alberta Gold Bear fan brought you here so you can listen to fellow alumni Eric Matson had a great episode with us. Maybe you're a big fan of people who play beach and indoor, so you can go back and listen to Becky Pavin explain her career. Jake McNeil is on the beach now, but had a great career indoors, and Jesse Elser went the other way, had a great youth beach career, and is now dominating the indoor scene. Or maybe you just want to hear about more of the great things that the Vancouver beach community is doing, and you can hear that from Seymour and Jody Z, who had a great episode. As you can see, we've got a great bank of episodes if you haven't listened to any of our previous ones. And as usual, feel free to give us any comments, and until Dallas's plea for a 6-star comes through, we'll accept as many 5-star reviews as we can get. Thanks, and hope you enjoyed this episode. Amazing. Special thanks to super fan of the show, Ben Saxton, for a great interview. Dal, initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts are you've already screwed up his title. It is super friend of the show.
Super friend of the show. Sorry. He can be a fan, can he?
No, he's friend of the show, Ben Saxton, and yes, you must say the whole thing.
If anyone's a super fan, it's me towards him, so I'll make sure that's correct.
Big shout out to Ben. He was a great guest, and he has a lot of invaluable information for those of you who want to learn. Ben is an absolutely amazing mentor. And we wish him nothing but the best in Warsaw and World Champs and the rest of his career.
Yeah, so check the show notes for more details, or just give a quick Google search to Wico Bevo and the National Beach Volleyball League.
Yep.
Awesome. Moving on to other news. I guess we'll cover indoor because, we like volleyball. You like volleyball. Everyone likes volleyball. Congratulations to the women's team for winning in Autumn Bailey's home province of Quebec. Kidding, that was her 18U qualification. But they took care of it. So now winning that event now puts them in a qualifier for, I keep calling it League of Nations, Volleyball Nations League.
Yeah, VNL, because, U Sports was crowned the worst name in sports, but the VNL said, wait a minute. Hold the phone. We're coming in.
We're going to one-up you. So good job for them. They get a chance to qualify now. On the men's side, they went 2-1 on the first weekend, dropping to Bulgaria, but then they recovered, beat Portugal, beat Argentina. So, you know what? 2-1 on the first weekend. I'll take that.
Yeah, they did what they needed to do. No real wow moments from that. There's... as this airs, there will be the continuation of the event in TD Place in Ottawa, but go out and support the indoor guys in Ottawa because it's also the venue of the Hall of Fame class of Volleyball Canada, and a lot of friends of the show are going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Jody Holden and Conrad Leineman, who were the 1999 Pan Am champions and Sydney Olympians, and the 1984 men's Olympic indoor team as well.
And the volleyball community in Ottawa does a great job. The coaching clinic there is absolutely stacked. I think they get every international coach who's competing at the event to actually give a presentation, which is awesome. And then we'll have some other Canadian speakers there. So definitely worth your money to sign up for the coaching clinic because I think it covers your tickets as well. Or if you just want to watch the game, the organizing committee in Ottawa does an amazing job. At least it was great last year, and I imagine it only gets better in year 2. So go check it out in Ottawa. I don't think Passin Dimes has the budget to go, but we'll be there in spirit.
We're just waiting for that big Wico Bevo money to come in, and we'll be on our way.
Yeah, definitely. So good luck to the men's team and for the women's team coming up. Other indoor news, FISU rosters were announced, so you can check out our Instagram page. Congratulations to everybody named to those rosters. They'll be competing in Italy this summer. That's a fun event. You've been to FISU.
I've been to FISU. That is a lot of fun event. My FISU was in Parnu, Estonia.
A lot of friends of the show from Estonia. The Sora family, the Poldmas, just so many.
A lot of blonde
Valius.
hair. A lot of blonde hair and blue eyes come out of that place. But beautiful coastal Baltic Parnu, Estonia.
I can just start naming more Estonians. Landis Doyle, Alicia Liddams from the OVA's Estonian. Man, Estonians love volleyball.
Love blonde hair too.
Well, I guess when you're tall and blonde and volleyball's next.
It's pegged in, but no, FISU's a lot of fun, and the sitting teams have also been named. Yeah,
actually, I've never thanked him on air. Special thanks to Alex Poldma for taking video of Canada was playing U.S. in an exhibition series, so we posted a sweet ace from Canada. Alex Pullman was there to get some stuff, so they're battling it out, getting ready. So that was nice of them to go visit the U.S. for a 5-game series, and the women were actually traveling a little bit and got to compete against some Asian teams and whoever else was at that event. So just kind of gearing up for. They'll have the Pan American Cup this summer, I believe.
They have the Para Pan Am Games, and that'll also be in Lima as well. But be sure to check out our sitting volleyball teams, and special plug to any members of the team out there. We're looking forward to having you on the show and talking about your Paralympic journey as well. Definitely,
and just keeping an eye on the beach. It's so awesome when Canada, we finish 5th at a tournament, and everybody's going like, oh man. Like, I can tell you, like, watching the games, like, the mood was ruined at work, being like, man, I can't believe Heather and Brady took a 5th, where we're so spoiled with how well they're doing, where we've talked about this at length, where a 5th 10 years ago would have been a parade.
We would have been popping bottles in the VC boardroom, but
now it's kind of like, oh, like, that's disappointing.
I remember looking at the World Championship our pools, which have been drawn, and Melissa and Heather being ranked 9th, and I go, 9th? Bullshit.
I think you said Melissa and Heather. You mean Melissa?
I did. I meant Melissa and Sarah. That'll have to be edited out in Nicole's notes. But Melissa and Sarah ranked 9th, and I was thinking to myself, wow, they're 9th. But I mean, that's incredible for all the teams. For all the teams there, we have three entries for women, and 2 for men.
And that's going to be exciting. So we covered kind of how the teams have qualified for there, and now they're gearing up. So Bansley Wilkerson look like they have a good pool. I mean, they have Behrens and Tillman from Germany. They have the good Swiss team, and Uruguay's there. Sarah and Melissa will get Sponsel and Clays from the USA. The up-and-coming Russian team, I think they won U19 last year, and then they've just been killing it ever since. And Colombia looks like to be the 4th team. And then Megan and Nicole, they've beat Laboureur before, haven't they not?
Yeah, they did. They beat them in Brazil to win a pool. But I'll tell you right now, playing the host country at a world championship is going to be a different bag. So it'll be interesting to have that pool, because there's going to be about 40,000 people in center court for that match.
Well, they're just going to keep banking experience and just be better for it. So good luck to them. And on the guys' side, Pedlo Shakhtar are going to be there, and O'Gorman Saxton. So Canada, 5 teams going to Worlds. Love it.
It could be a 5-team. It could be 5 medals. You know, wishful thinking, but
could be. We'll obviously prep that at a future date. I think we're getting a little long because we could talk to Ben Saxton all day. So World Championships, we got a little bit of time. We got Warsaw to kind of hype up a little bit, and some other events. So we're not paying the pools too much attention right now, but that's because, you know, how many people listen to 2-hour podcasts?
No, about the same amount of people that listen to us.
So we'll wrap it up shortly. NORCECA trials have finally completed, so some new teams will have the opportunity to go, at least on the women's side, which is exciting. We'll post that on our Instagram for full results. I think we've covered it. U21's coming up. We'll have some news on that. It feels like everything's kind of
ramping up
and coming fast, so obviously pay attention to future shows, because we'll be covering everything and anything. But as usual, if you have any comments, feel free to reach out to us. Love those 5-star reviews. If you're an iTunes person, feel free to give those up. I don't know. Does Google Play? I'm not a Google person.
Yeah,
do they have
I'm a Google
reviews?
person. They have a 5-star. I'm actually pushing for us to get a 6th star.
Ooh, yes. Okay.
So we'll be up there. But again, we're going to sign off here. And special thanks to super friend of the show, Ben Saxton.
Super best friends?
Super amazing best friend of the show, Ben Saxton.
That was great. Every week, we just keep adding these guests, and, you know, we're shooting for the moon. I think we can get anybody at this point.
I'm really excited to have Wayne Gretzky on our next podcast.
And Sidney Crosby.
He's our plan B.
Awesome. As usual, thanks for listening. You guys are great, and keep the feedback coming, and help the audience grow. Just tell one person.
And then they'll tell one person.
And then they tell one person, and then we just doubled our audience.
And then we doubled our income.
That sweet, sweet internet money.
All right, take care.
All right. Bye, Mom.